Is your content converting into sales? If you answer no to these three questions, then this episode could be for you. When creating content to promote your business, do you always know what to talk about online? Number two, does your content marketing align with your business goals? And number three, do you create content that solves your audience's problems? Hi, I'm Deb Szabo. I'm a marketing strategist and video coach. And in this episode of Content Catalyst, I will share how to get a content strategy that directly impacts your bottom line. So, digital marketing is constantly evolving how we connect with our buyers. AI is changing how we create content and how we also get discovered. It's really saving us so much time. Like the content creation process, I can edit a video in just a few clicks now. So the other thing to note is that OpenAI is also changing how people are searching for what they need. So, like, I use Perplexity AI, and that's my assistant for the day. I rarely Google anything now. And I was talking to some people last night about this subject, and I'm like, how many times do you use ChatGPT on your phone or Perplexity on your phone? And that's how we're evolving now. Search GPT is also coming, and certainly Google has got a lot of keeping up to do to if they want to maintain their, go to, the term of I'll just Google it, is not going to be the term that we'll be using, down the track. So the question is, how do we create content that converts? Well, today I'm going to walk you through 12 key steps so you never run out of content ideas of what to say, and dial in your messaging so your content resonates with your audience, and also the workflow of how to make it happen as well. So number one is goals. Are you creating content that aligns with your business goals? So, for example, if I wanted to set up a new office location, that would be my business goal. However, my content marketing goal would be to build a database of 1,000 potential clients in that region. Now, when I'm creating business goals, always quantify it, because when you go back and review your metrics, you want to know, yes, I built a database, but did I increase it by the percentage that I wanted, or did I hit the number that I wanted? So SMART goals, they call it. So have a think about, write down 3 of your business goals and write down 3 of your content marketing goals that align with each other. Number 2, audience. Now, this is where, again, a lot of people do have a vague idea of who their customer is in a broad sense. But what we want to do in defining our audience so we create content that resonates is really profiling those people. Now, I do 2 things when I create a content marketing strategy, and that is I look at the cohort. So the cohort, and imagine this, right? So if you were to speak in front of an auditorium of your ideal audience, and let's say there are 1,000 people in there of your ideal people, that would be your cohort. Okay. So they're your, females aged between, 45 and 55 that are self-employed. Okay. So that'd be your cohort. Your audience, your avatar, however, is when you grab one of those people out of the audience and get them up on stage and then profile them and have a conversation with them. So that's your avatar. And the more specific we get with your avatar, the better the content that you can create that resonates with them. Now, I did a video challenge last month, and it was about how to create a sales video. So I gave you an 8-step sales script on how to write out your video. And one of the things that the first couple of days was about the messaging and the planning and of your video and writing out the script. And this is probably the one place that most people got stuck on, was really understanding the language that our audience uses and creating those real life scenarios. And so when we profile our avatar, we really uncover what's their motivations, what are their challenges, what are their pain points. And then we can start to really use the language and thought process that they're thinking and feeling. And that's when people will hear a piece of your content and go, oh my God, I thought you were talking about me. So when we profile our avatar, it's about really getting detailed as much, because let's let's just say that we were talking about a woman aged between 45 and 55, you've got a really broad spectrum of that, of going, well, if Sarah is 50, has she got children living at home? Is she still running around paying soccer mom on a Saturday? Or is she an empty nester, for example? And so her habits will change depending on those kind of things. So that's why we really want to dial in our avatar with who our audience is. So number 3 is messaging, and this follows very closely on with our ideal person. And I have an exercise that I do called a vivid story exercise. So when you do this exercise, this is where you start to, again, dial in your messaging and start to really understand your avatar even further. So vivid story stands for visualize, impact, value, and implement and desire. So we go through each column of understanding our avatar by visualizing what are their pain points, what are their motivations, what are their challenges, what are they thinking, what are they feeling, what are they doing, what are they not doing. And so when we understand this, then we understand the impact that if they don't work with you, what's the consequences? What's the impact if they don't work with you? And so when we understand that, then we can understand the transformation that you offer, and that's your value. So your value isn't just, I offer this course. The value is all the levels and layers of what makes you different to everybody else, because there could be 10 people lined up that do the same thing. However, nobody does it like you. And then that's where we delve into what is your niche, what's your USP, your unique selling point. And so then when we understand that, the transformation comes from when they implement what you do. And a lot of the time when I see people actually make content, and let's say it's an online course, for example, and I've been guilty of this. Please, I'm not perfect in any way of all of this. And this is why I can share this with you, is that if we don't articulate the transformation of what we offer, then again, we're missing out on dialing in our messaging. And of course, then the result is the desire. What's their desired outcome when they actually do work with you? And it's not always about, again, we're using top level wording when I work with a lot of clients, is that they may turn around and use the words, the impact is, the challenges are for them, is that they're procrastinating or they're overeating. Okay, so, and that's, say, if you were a health coach, helping someone. But the reality is, if we were dialing in the scenarios of what they were doing, procrastinating might be doom scrolling on TikTok for hours while they're eating, a packet of Tim Tams, and that's overeating. So when we give those real life scenarios, it changes how we connect with our audience. And the other thing about that as well, those real life scenarios are really powerful when we go to make video content or get B-roll content of describing and showing and demonstrating what our audience is going through and how you help them. So that's why that is really, really important. And if I say anything out of all the 12 steps that I'm going to share with you today, that vivid story with your audience and your messaging is probably the most important part there. So once we do our messaging, that's number 3. Then number 4, then we use what we've got. So our goals, our core offer, our audience, our messaging, and then we get to our keywords. So keywords equals SEO, it equals discoverability, it equals what people are searching up to remedy their pain points. And when we create content that uses those keywords, then we have better opportunities to be discovered and found. And essentially, you've got your solution and you've got your audience, and those keywords are like the glue that helps, like a magnet that helps to attract you both together. So the keywords is all about when you, let's say you do a podcast, like I will use Perplexity to help me write my show notes for this podcast, for example, but I'll also ask it to pull out the keywords, because when people are on YouTube or on Google or on ChatGPT or on Perplexity, finding this, wanting solutions to their problems, they're typing in those words, and that's what we want to uncover. All right. So number 5 is audit. Success leaves clues. So when we look at what we've already been doing, we then can start to paint a picture of what content that we're doing actually resonates with our audience and what's not resonating with our audience. So when we audit what we've been doing, then we can start to look at what opportunities we're missing out on and what opportunities we can dial in and amplify. And the other thing about when we look at auditing what we're currently doing is then we can actually look at where your stuck points are, where are your sticky points of where you're not optimizing your content marketing workflow as well. The other thing about auditing things is that you could actually be creating a lot of content for a platform. So let's say you're spending all this time on Instagram, but actually your audience is over on LinkedIn and you're not doing LinkedIn. And I've been guilty of this. Then this is the opportunity to actually go in and take advantage of those platforms that you're not currently engaged in. So, and it also gives you an opportunity to update your bios and look at what you've been working, what you need to work on. I've just done this recently with my own business. So I've just gone through all my social media platforms because, when we're setting up our business, for example, we can just be in the mode of just got to tick it off the list. And that's fine. I always say done is better than perfect. But there is a point that you've got to go back in and level up. And that's what I'm doing with all of my content at the moment. I'm auditing my bios. In fact, I've got somebody just looking with fresh eyes on my bio at the moment as I speak. And the reason why I think that's a good plan as well is because sometimes we're too close to our business. And, I go back to it's always hard to read the label from inside the jam jar. So I've got my team and also experts and mentors going in and auditing my bios and seeing if they're optimized now and what I need to actually make improvements on. So like I said, success leaves clues, and it also gives you an idea of where you need to plug the holes that you're not taking advantage of. So number 6, when we are creating content that converts, is the formats. What platforms are right for you, and this follows on very closely once you audit your content. So then you can look at going, cool. I am missing out on all of these opportunities here on LinkedIn, and what is my strategy then going to be? That my posting strategy that I'm going to do for LinkedIn. And then I can look at what is the culture, what's working over there at the moment. So I know like infographics are working really well. And LinkedIn has just released a video feed. So these are the things that then we can go through and look at what is the culture. The culture on TikTok is very different than over on Instagram, the style of videos that you create. YouTube, for example, is going to be different again. So think about what are the cultures of each platform, and you'll find often that you will have a platform first. So some people might just prefer to only deal on LinkedIn because they're a writer by heart, where if you love creating video and you want to position yourself as a thought leader, then certainly YouTube is a great place for you to be over, and use that as your platform first. When you do platform first, by the way, it's like sometimes depends on how your brain works. Like for me, I like to tackle one thing, really go in deep and nail it and then move on to something else. If I start to scatter myself all over the place of doing things, I tend to, get a bit distracted, a bit of squirrelitis. So for example, at the moment for October, I am doubling down on YouTube. So that is my whole strategy that I'm going to focus all on in. And that's why inside Content Catalyst membership, we're also going to be dialing in our YouTube activities as well. So then we get to number 7, content categories. So I ran a poll on my Instagram stories the other day asking, what do people get stuck with? Is it time, content, ideas, tech, all of the above? And it always comes down to knowing what to talk about. So when you have done those exercises of looking at your core offer, looking at your messaging, your audience, your keywords, then you can actually come in and start to define your content categories. Now, your content categories, think of them like buckets of information or topics that you talk about or how you help people and serve people and their pain points of your audience. Okay. So now when we go to create content, And this is kind of a little bit of a grind point for me when I hear people say, when you create your content pillars, create entertaining content, education content, behind the scenes content, testimonial content. Yes, they're not content category. They're not your content pillars. What they are, they're an approach to how you create your content. That's the style of content that you can create. Your content categories, however, really defines the offer that you have and the pain points that you solve for people. So, for example, now think about this: create between 3 and 7. Some people, like I'm working with a health coach at the moment that's got three. Okay, so theirs is all about nutrition, movement, and mindset. Okay, so they're the three key categories that they have. But out of that, the movement has plenty and probably about 20 subtopics out of that. So then they have yoga, swimming, Pilates, all the things that help talk about movement. Now, the difference is if I was doing, say, yoga, and I was doing an entertaining post about yoga, I could create some, like, what's a struggle that people have when they're doing yoga, and it could be your dog tries to come and lick your face. That's an entertaining post about yoga. Educating would be, here's my routine on how I, kick off my morning by spending, 20 minutes doing this yoga exercise. You're going to increase your blood flow, your blah, 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 blah. So educating them, but you also might do a tutorial in that and take them through a 10-minute before work yoga. Behind the scenes might be you setting up for your yoga class. So you can see how the content category is about movement. The topic is yoga, but the style and the approach and the angle that we take is how we tell the story. So doing this again, I, go in, and if you've done the exercises of the first 6 things that I've just told you, then you can actually use AI to come in and help uncover some more information with this as well. So I do a content catalyst blueprint, and for people that have been working with me one-to-one at the moment on this, I did this exercise with somebody last weekend, and we whiteboarded everything out up until this point. And then so I've created inside each stage of the blueprint, I've created AI prompts to uncover more in-depth information. And I use Perplexity AI. So once we get to the next step, we upload that into Perplexity, and it extracts all this goodness that we think, oh gosh, I didn't even think about that, So when we get to that stage, being able to use those AI prompts not in that stage, in every stage, is really, really powerful to dive a little bit deeper in what we're doing. And it also saves us so much time. Like, honestly, the amount of time I can save by using these AI prompts is, hours. Okay, number 8, when we create content that connects. First of all, we want to be recognizable, and we need to be memorable. We need to be relevant. We need to be top of mind. And so how do we stand out from the crowd? How do we dial in what makes you uniquely you? And that's by having a good brand vibe. So what is your personal brand? What is your business brand? How are you recognizable and memorable? So then we go through and we do a brand vibe guide, and then we establish what makes you, what makes you uniquely, and it could be the colors of what you wear, it could be the glasses of what you do, it could be a tagline, it could be a signature look. It also comes down to your brand vibe is, especially when we're doing video content, what are your captions that you're using? What is the style of captions? What is the style of video that you create? So if you can create a template of how you show up and do your videos, not only is it going to save you so much time, but it's also going to help your audience make the connection that of your content as well online. So number 9 is metrics. So again, like when we get to auditing our content, we have to monitor what we're doing, because especially when we're doing campaigns, last month I was talking all about campaigns and launches. And when we're in launch mode, for example, we want to understand what's working for us now and what needs some help. Because when you're in the middle of a campaign and it's not resonating with your audience, the title could be off, the messaging could be wrong, the visuals could be off. If you go in and just by tweaking something, and I've done this so many times over the years when an event's not selling out, or the campaign isn't resonating, I'll go in and update it. So when you monitor what you're doing and track those metrics, you can see what's working and do more of that, or uncover those sticky points and rectify it and go, why have I had all this growth over here and then I've stagnated here? So monitoring your metrics. Now, here's a little tip that I do. So in my Google Calendar, I have a reoccurring calendar note that on the first of each month, I go back and update my metrics for the month. And that'll be, looking at how my email list is growing, my opt-ins, and then each social media platform, what are the numbers on that? So number 10 is distribution. Okay, so one of the things that we get told all the time when we're creating content is consistency is the key. And I'm a shocker for it. Like sometimes my brain just I'm creating content for a lot of other people that my brain just gets like jelly after a while. And I just want to tap out and I'll, ghost you on Instagram for a week. And it's like, I just need to restore my brain power. That's okay. You can't let social media burn you out. But how can we stay consistent when we are in holiday mode, for example, when we don't want to do that? And that's by having a good, content library will help you do that. So if you don't feel like turning on camera today, you can just go into your album on your phones, pull out something, remix it, repurpose it, just repost it, for example, or pull out some B-roll and, pop some information on that. So you can always do those things when you, don't have the energy or the inclination to do it. But if you can get to the point when you have, and especially if you've got team as well, is that you're batching up content and then you can actually schedule out the content. Like, I was talking with somebody, I did a podcast with Josh and Mon this week for the Personal and Branding podcast. And we were talking about how they had all this content already from their previous podcast that they just haven't done anything with. And I'm guilty of this too. Like I've got all this podcast information, like videos, and being able to repurpose it and redistribute it. So right now I've got my my VA going through all of my podcasts and pulling out short clips. And again, use CapCut, pop up your long form video, press the short clip maker and it'll give you 20 clips. And she's organizing that now. So then we can distribute it out for the month. So a scheduler is really good for that. Now, I use Vista Social. I've used like literally all the platforms, I think. Metricool, I've used Buffer, Later, all the things. They all pretty much work the same. What I do look for in a scheduler, though, is does it push it out to the key platforms? So I want it to go out, and this is why I like Vista Social, is because I think it's got 18 different platforms that I can push it out. So if I was a restaurant and I wanted to push out content to TripAdvisor, I can schedule that in there. If I want to push out content to Pinterest, I can do that in there. Google Business often gets forgotten about with sharing content, because a lot of schedulers, so if you only use Meta, for example, you're not going to be able to push out content to YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever. But if you have a good scheduler that covers all those platforms, then it just makes your life so much easier to repurpose content as well. Okay, so distribution, just a thing. If you are doing LinkedIn carousels, for example, you need to upload them as PDFs, not images like you do for, say, Instagram. So just keep that in mind. Workflow. Okay, so number 11 is workflow. And workflow is then the way on how we get the most out of our time. I'm recording this podcast right now just before I'm about to go out today. And I'm like, okay, I've got 20 minutes to record this podcast. I wrote out my outline and now I've got this one video and I'm going to upload it. And then I'm going to turn this one video into 15 pieces of content marketing. So I've got a checklist there that you can get to be able to do this workflow. And I've got all the templates in there. So you know what thumbnails to the right size thumbnails and everything. So if you do want to get that workflow, I'll put that in the show notes as well. Okay, so number 12, when it comes to creating content that connects and converts, it's about having a content planner. When you have a content planner, it just helps to know what content to post consistently and the style of content, so you get a good mixture in your content as well. All right, so I have been playing with different project managers over the years, just like schedulers, and I have landed on Notion. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you've used. I've used Monday, I've used Asana, I've used Trello, I've used Google Sheets. I've used them all, but what I'm loving about Notion at the moment, especially if you've got a bit of a spicy brain like mine, I love visual things. And Monday's great from a color perspective, but sometimes it's just a little bit restrictive and it's a little bit too colorful, if I'm honest, where Asana is like the black and white version of that. Google Sheets is great for integration, but it just gets it can't do all the things that I want it to do as well. So I've actually created a content planner in Notion at the moment to help me organize my content. And so far, I am loving it as well. So I'll put some links to those resources in the show notes as well. And it's free. Like, that's the other thing is I was paying, I don't know, $60, $70 a month for Monday. And if it's just one of you, that's like, it's crazy. It's okay if you've got a big team. But yeah, for me, when it was just one person, I had to pay for 3 seats, whether I used it or not. Trello is great because you can, get enough out of their free version, just like Asana as well. But like I said, Notion is something that I'm, loving at the moment. I've created a template in there, and if you want to grab that template, I'll put that in the show notes as well. All right, so these are my 12 steps, just to recap, how to create content that converts and makes you money. Number 1 is goals. Number 2 is audience. Number 3 is messaging. Number 4 is keywords. Number 5 is audit. Number 6 is formats. Number 7 is content categories. Number 8 is your brand vibe. Number 10 is distribution. Number 11 is your workflow. And number 12 is having a content planner. So these are my 12 steps. Now, for those that need a content marketing strategy and a business growth strategy, essentially is what it is. And you can work with me one-to-one. I have some openings in my calendar at the moment, only a handful to do that for the month. However, I am about to release an online course that you can go through these key steps to do this for your own business. So if you want to know more about the course, I'll put the details in the show notes and you can join the waitlist. It'll be launched very shortly. Doors open for that very shortly. And it'll cover off on all of those 12 steps. Now, here's the beautiful thing about this. The Content Catalyst Blueprint, every single step includes an AI prompt to make your life easier. So once you've gone through and done all of that, you are then going to go into your Perplexity and set this up. So every time you want to plan out your content for the month, you just have to, press go, and it'll give you all the ideas based on your offer, your message, your audience, and it'll be on point with what you do. So if you're interested, join the waitlist now, because I've got some special bonuses coming for those on the waitlist. And until the next episode of Content Catalyst, thank you for tuning in. And if you've gotten value out of this episode, please share it with somebody else that may also get some value, that's struggling to get impact with their content, because it essentially, we need to be sharing our message with our audience, and we also need to be optimizing our time on how we do it as well. So thank you again. And until the next episode of Content Catalyst, I'm Deb Szabo.